from the res life, big lessons for the world, dreaming big.
Hi there, and welcome to the Willie Cheez Education Channel. I'm Delmar, and I'm passionate about storytelling that empowers you. Join us as we explore personal development, native traditions, and business insights through the eyes of Willie Cheez. Each story is a chance to learn, grow, and embrace the journey. Let's dive into today's story on Willie Cheez and the Shadow of Bullying, a story of fear and courage. Part 1: The Beginning of the Nightmare. Willie Cheez had always been a quiet, thoughtful kid. He loved to read, explore the desert near his home, and spend time with his family. But everything changed when he started at a new school. The other kids noticed his quiet nature, his worn clothes, and the way he kept to himself. It wasn't long before the teasing started. At first it was small, snide comments in the hallway, whispers behind his back. But as the weeks went by, the bullying grew worse. Willie's classmates began to mock him openly, calling him names, pushing him around, and excluding him from everything. They laughed at the way he talked, the way he looked, and even the way he walked. Willie tried to ignore it, tried to stay strong, but the words and actions cut deep. Every day he felt more and more isolated, as if he was shrinking into himself. He started to dread going to school, his stomach twisting into knots every morning as he walked through the doors. Part 2: The Darkness Grows. The bullying didn't stop when Willie left school. It followed him home, seeping into every part of his life. The taunts and jeers echoed in his mind, even in the silence of his room. He stopped talking to his family, too ashamed to tell them what was happening. He felt like a burden, like he was bringing shame to his family just by being himself. Willie's grades started to slip, and he lost interest in the things he once loved. The weight of the bullying pressed down on him, making it hard to breathe, hard to think. He began to wonder if there was something wrong with him, if he deserved the treatment he was getting. Late at night, when the house was quiet, Willie would lie awake, thoughts racing through his mind. He wondered what it would be like if he wasn't around anymore. Would anyone care? Would the pain finally stop? The darkness inside him grew, feeding on his fears and insecurities. Part 3: The Breaking Point. One day, after another humiliating encounter at school, Willie reached his breaking point. The bullies had cornered him in the hallway, taunting him, pushing him until he fell to the ground. As they walked away laughing, Willie lay there feeling utterly defeated. That night, the darkness overwhelmed him. He couldn't see a way out, couldn't imagine a life where the pain didn't exist. He thought about ending it all, about finding a way to make the pain go away forever. But as Willie sat there, lost in his thoughts, something inside him stirred. A small voice, barely a whisper, but strong enough to be heard over the noise in his mind. It told him that this wasn't the end, that there was more to life than the pain he was feeling. It told him to hold on, to find the strength to keep going. Willie didn't know where the voice came from, but it gave him the courage to reach out. He knew he couldn't keep this to himself any longer. He needed help. Part 4: Finding Strength in Vulnerability. The next day, Willie did something he had been too afraid to do before. He talked to his teacher, Mrs. Begay. She had always been kind to him, but he had never felt comfortable sharing his struggles. With tears in his eyes, Willie told her everything: the bullying, the isolation, the thoughts that had plagued him. Mrs. Begay listened without interrupting, her face filled with concern and compassion. When Willie finished, she placed a gentle hand on his shoulder and told him that he wasn't alone. She promised to help him, to stand by him and make sure that the bullying stopped. True to her word, Mrs. Begay took action. She reported the bullying to the school administration, who took immediate steps to address the situation. The bullies were disciplined, and the school implemented programs to raise awareness about bullying and its effects. but the real change came from within Willie himself. By opening up, he had taken the first step toward healing. He realized that talking about his pain didn't make him weak, it made him stronger. He began to confide in his family, sharing his struggles and letting them support him. Part 5. The Road to Recovery. The road to recovery wasn't easy. The scars left by the bullying didn't heal overnight, and there were days when Willie still felt the weight of the past. But with the support of his family, his teacher, and a counselor who helped him work through his emotions, Willie began to rebuild his sense of self. He discovered that he wasn't alone. Many other kids had experienced bullying, and by sharing his story, he could help them too. Willie started speaking out against bullying, sharing his experiences with others and encouraging them to seek help if they were struggling. He became a voice for those who felt they had none, a source of strength for those who felt weak. Willie also found new ways to cope with the pain. He took up writing, pouring his emotions onto the page, and he reconnected with the things he loved, exploring the desert, reading, and spending time with his family. Slowly but surely, he began to reclaim his life, to find joy and purpose again. A message of hope. Years later, Willie Cheez stood before a group of students, sharing his story. He talked about the pain he had endured, the darkness that had almost consumed him, and the strength it took to reach out for help. He spoke of the importance of kindness, of standing up for others, and of the power that comes from facing your fears. As he looked into the faces of the students, Willie saw himself in them, kids who were struggling, who felt lost and alone, but who still had hope. He wanted them to know that they were not alone, that there was always a way out, even when things seemed darkest. Bullying can take away your sense of self, Willie said, his voice strong and clear. It can make you feel like you're not worth anything, like you don't belong. But I'm here to tell you that you do belong, that you are worth everything. Don't be afraid to speak up, to reach out for help. You are stronger than you know, and there is always a way to find the light again. Willie's story resonated with the students, many of whom had faced similar struggles. He had faced his greatest fear, the fear of being alone, of being nothing, and had come out the other side stronger, more resilient, and more determined to make a difference. As he walked away from the school that day, Willie felt a deep sense of peace. He knew that his journey wasn't over, but he also knew that he had the strength to face whatever came next. And he knew that by sharing his story, he was helping others find their own strength, their own courage, and their own way to overcome the darkness.
From the res life, big lessons for the world, dreaming big.